Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for our webinar on design concepts and content migration strategy, excuse me. This is part 2 of our webinar series, What to Consider Before Your Next Website Redesign. My name is Emily Risch. I'm a project manager at IndieTech Solutions. Today, you're going to hear from our lead designer and chief technology officer. They'll share our work and how we transform content into stunning custom website designs by sharing real-life examples. We'll provide information about content migration strategies to help you feel confident and prepared for your next website redesign. At IndieTech Solutions, we provide digital solutions and create top quality websites that are engaging, accessible, and easy to manage. Our work aims to inspire your community by helping you with website design, development, and content strategy. We support your nonprofit communications work by enhancing your online presence, enabling you to connect more effectively with your audience. Over the last decade, IndieTech Solutions has collaborated with over 60 organizations in the nonprofit space, crafting more than 100 custom websites, microsites, and campaigns. In recent years, we've been honored with 4 prestigious awards by the creative web design community. As a web development agency, we believe in the power of equality and diversity to drive innovation and create meaningful change. Our team of talented professionals come from diverse backgrounds. While our offices are in Washington, D.C., you'll find our team working from around the globe. Though first languages and cultures may vary among staff, we are united by our commitment to the causes of the organizations we support. We honor and embrace and appreciate diversity of opinions, social and cultural backgrounds, and life perspectives. Now, let me introduce you to our IndieTech Solutions team. We have Catalina Seiwani, is an Uruguayan web designer with over 10 years of expertise in web and user interface user design. Catalina creates designs that are both aesthetically pleasing and highly functional. She is passionate about using her skills to make the world a more beautiful and user-friendly place, and she is continually learning and growing in her field. Wasim Sadala is the Chief Information Officer and founder of IndieTech Solutions. With over 18 years of experience creating innovative web solutions for nonprofits, he leads IndieTech Solutions web strategy development and team members to help nonprofit organizations achieve their digital goals, positively impacting their communities. With a background in web security, he ensures that all of IndieTech Solutions web projects are developed with the highest level of security in mind. Wasim founded IndieTech Solutions driven by his unwavering passion and dedication to nonprofit causes. Let's get started. We have prepared 2 presentations and a Q&A at the end. You can add your questions to the Q&A section at any time. I'll be monitoring the chat. Catalina will start us off. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Emily, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar today. So let me share my screen. And today we're going to talk about one of the most common challenges that we see nonprofit organizations face when doing a website redesign. And we're going to go over some potential solutions for this challenge. And these solutions are not only to provide a good user experience for your audience, but also they're going to be shaped around your content. So the most common challenge that we see is that users can't find what they're looking for because nonprofit organizations, a lot of times, they produce a lot of content. Maybe you have reports or you have events. There's different content types that you're sharing. And a lot of times we see that when nonprofit organizations first design their websites, maybe they're still small and only have a few resources, but as time goes by and they grow, they're producing more content, and it becomes increasingly hard for users to find what they're looking for on the website. So one of the solutions that we offer to address this is resource libraries. So resource libraries allow your users to explore your content more easily. It gives them a way to filter content and sort them in a way that makes sense for them. I'm going to share some examples that we've worked on. So the first one that we have is the first focus on children website that we launched recently. And we did this resource library for them, where you can see that they have a lot of content. We're seeing 9 results on this page, and there's 129 pages. I'm not great at math, but this is a lot of results. So what we did for them is we provided some filtering options that are based on what users are looking for when they get to this page. So first thing that we have here is we have a search bar so that if someone knows exactly what they're looking for, they can easily just type it in and we'll show the results that are relevant for them. And then we have some other filtering options. So for example, in this case, we have filtering by resource type, and we have issue area and author. Again, the reason why we chose to have these filters and why we chose to present them in this way is because we're tailoring the solution to what's needed for this particular organization. So they have filter by resource type, and they have the 7 resource types that we're always showing and making them available. And then we have some dropdowns that have a few more options, as you can see here, that also allow filtering, again, by issue area and author. And yeah, as you can see here, this is the solution that we found for this particular client based on their requirement. I'm going to quickly show another resource library that we did for CMS. And you can see that the general structure of the page is very similar to what we did for First Focus. We have filtering on the left and then results on the right. But you can see here the filtering options are different. And the reason behind this, again, is the content for each particular organization and what filters are relevant for their users. And Wasim will talk about how you can organize all this content and know which filters are needed for a particular site. But yeah, again, this is all based on content and tailoring to each specific site's need. The other section that's very important on resource library pages is sorting options. So as you can see here, we have, you can filter by, not filter, by publication date or featured content. And here in First Focus, you can see the options are very similar, just a little different, again, just to tailor the solution to each specific site's need. And yeah, you can see the rest of the page is pretty similar. And down here, we have the pagination too, pagination. This is also very important in resource libraries because, again, we're working with a lot of results and we want to make it easier for users to be able to find what they're looking for. So what we're doing with pagination is we're breaking down all these results into just a set of results that are more easy to scan. So a user can just take a look at this page and see between these 6 results if what they're looking for is here, and if it's not, they can just go to the next page. And same here. In this case, we're showing 9 results per page. So again, it's just another way to make it easier for users to navigate content and explore and be able to find what they're looking for more easily inside the site. And yeah, one more thing that I forgot to mention about this one that is also interesting is that in this particular website, we wanted to give all users the option to choose how many results they're seeing in a page. Again, we're keeping simple at first, so by default, we're showing 6. But if someone wants to see more results per page, we're also giving them this flexibility. And we're also giving them some flexibility in the way that they see results. They have this list view that is more similar to what they may see in other search engines. And they have the grid view so they can switch. Again, these are all ways to make the content more digestible for users and just to give them the flexibility they need on each particular site or each particular organization. And yeah, so after someone is able to find the content that they're looking for, we need to see what happens once they go inside that article or that report that they found. So we have different, basically two different types of articles or reports. We have some that are very long with different sections and a lot of content, and we have others that are more simple. So I wanted to show you an example of each. So you can see how we found the solution for each of these particular reports or content types. So first we have a report that we did, a report design, I should say, that we did for Faribault. And as you can see here, this has a lot of content. This is a very long article. It has some graphics to break down the content, but it's still a lot of text. So in order to make this user-friendly and allow users to process all this content, go through it more easily, what we did is we divided the page into two sections. So we have the content on the left, and on the right, we have a sidebar. This allows us to keep the width of the content narrow enough and wide enough at the same time to be easily read. We usually want to keep the lines between 50 and 70 characters long. So having the sidebar, we're allowed to just keep the column of text narrower and easier to read. And then we can use the space on the sidebar to allow some navigation inside this page. So as you can see, as you scroll down, the sidebar will reflect the section that you're on. So this gives you an idea of how far along you are inside the content. And if you wanted to jump to a specific section, you can also do that by clicking on the sidebar. Again, this is all about giving users an easy way to digest content and be able to find what they're looking for. So giving them a text that's easier to digest than just a wall of text, and giving them options to navigate inside the text will allow you to, yeah, just make their life easier. And yeah, as you can see, this is an example with a lot of content. And then we have some other reports or some other articles that are going to be a lot simpler. In this case, for example, we don't have any subheadings or subsections, and the article is not really long, so it can be easily read by users in a few minutes. So in this case, what we did, we still kept the sidebar, but we decided to use that space to promote other content. So you can see related articles so that users can navigate to other articles from right here. And we're also showing some tags so that users can explore these topics that they're interested in. And finally, we have some sharing options. Again, this all responds to the content and each website's requirements and needs. So yeah, it's just two different ways to show kind of the same content type, but structured a little different. All right, and finally we have events. We see that a lot of nonprofit organizations host events, and oftentimes it's a little hard to see what's upcoming, to see what events have passed. So what we do is, I'm going to show you an example, is we can show an event page that is pretty similar to the resource library. You can see the structure is pretty similar. We have filtering options on the side and then the results on the right. But again, it all comes down to content. So in the case of the event page, it makes sense to have a calendar because users can easily see when the next event is coming up. And yeah, so again, we're showing all these options based on what is relevant and what's needed for each particular case. We also have, in this particular website for Campaign for Children, we also have different event types. So we allow users to filter them. And we also have a filter by issue area. And yeah, you can see that we're showing these just a few options we're showing them as checkboxes to make them always available. And we also have this one that we're showing as a drop-down simply because this is a lot of options and it's more, it's just easier for users to navigate the content this way versus showing all the options all the time. And yeah, events also have some particularities compared to other types of resources because the date is something that you want to highlight as well as the time and the location. So what we did here in this case is we designed this, I should call them like card to show the event where we feature the date, the name of the event, and then some additional information that's relevant. And then finally, on the event page, same thing. You can see this is quite similar to the resources that we went over before. It also has a sidebar and then content on the right. But we're shaping this page a little differently in order to accommodate what's relevant for events. So in this case, we're using the sidebar to give users an easy way to sign up for the event and also to share it on social media. And yeah, same reason why we're showing all the event information here on this section. It just makes sense to show the information that's relevant for events in this page. And yeah, and finally, we have the sign up section because, again, in events, it's very important to be able to give users an easy way to sign up. So either by having it on the content or available on the sidebar, it's always about making it easy for users to perform the action that we want them to, which is sign up and learn more about the event. And yeah, that's pretty much it about the how we find a solution for this challenge. And I'm going to pass it over to Wasim that's going to go over how we can organize all this information before going into this design.
While he's doing that, I just want to say one more reminder about adding your questions to the chat. Any design questions you have, migration questions, or just general website questions are fine. Please put them in the chat or the Q&A section.
Great. Thank you, Emily. Thanks so much, Catalina, for sharing with us all of those like cool design and user experience focused work you've been doing. So yeah, just like as Emily just mentioned, if you have any, before I just like talk a little bit about the content migration piece, if you have any questions about what Kalina just covered right now or anything design related or user experience, please go ahead and maybe by the end of my little presentation, we can cover all of them, most of them, some of them. Sweet. So hello again. My name is Wasim, pronounced he, his. I am the CTO here at IndieTech Solutions. So I manage the development team. So everything that is in the background, the back end that people don't see usually, except like content editors, and also all of the web security stuff and make sure, you know, our precious websites are as secure and safe as possible. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to cover the content migration when it comes to a website redesign. One second, share my screen. Hopefully I will do it right. That will be okay. I think it's good. All right. So content migration. So just gonna explain it a little bit, just like maybe 30 seconds before we dig what we mean by content migration. So we have the existing website for any nonprofit, for your organization, and you're working on a redesign to develop a new one. One of the first questions is what I'm going to do with the existing contents. Am I going to migrate everything? Should I filter? Should I migrate something and delete the other things? Should I archive? Like, what's the kind of like, that's what we mean here by content migration, is moving your content, pages, posts, and media libraries from one website to another. So in general, with any content migration web projects. There are three. If I can go next slide. Go to the next slide. Okay. So usually we, over the years, we've been mastering like the 3 steps for any content migration project we've worked on or we partner with other agencies to work on. Number 1 step, which is the obvious one, is just you want to know exactly what you have on your existing website. And for that, we usually perform an audit, comprehensive audit of everything you have. That includes your pages. I'm going to talk specifically about WordPress pages, about WordPress systems, but it doesn't matter which CMS, which content management system you're using. But I assume most of the nonprofits using WordPress, so this will be around there. But I'm going to cover when you're not using WordPress and using something else. So yeah, so if it's WordPress, so we're talking about pages. We're talking about if you have any posts. We're talking about what we call in WordPress the custom post types, like events, like resource libraries, that kind of stuff. So yeah, step number 1 is just like to get a sense of exactly what you have right now with the audits. The second thing is you want to make a plan. So this is on one side, this is what we have, all of the content. The second is, okay, what I'm going to do with this content. Am I going to migrate everything? Are we going to choose what are we going to migrate and delete, as I said, or archive? Are we going to create new contents? And from that, once you have kind of like that plan, then you just have to run with it do the migration, start like doing, if there is any mapping that needs to be done and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to share like few examples for each step and how we've been doing it over the years. And that kind of like will give you an idea about like the whole process. First thing is audit of your existing content. So one of the first questions you should ask is which CMS, which content management system are you using now and you're going to migrate to. It's always easier if it's the same CMS system. So if it's like WordPress to WordPress, Drupal to Drupal, or whatever system, that's usually easier to do because it's kind of like the structure of your content and the framework is very similar. It gets a little tricky and sometimes very tricky when it's 2 different systems because it's the structure of your content is not the same. So for instance, Drupal to WordPress, that's a tricky one. We did few projects like that in the past. Then one not too easy is Nation Builder. I don't know if you heard of it because it's not really a proper CMS, but some organizations use it as a CMS. So that one is very tricky to migrate. So that's mentioning that because that's could be a time factor and time consuming when you are considering the content migration from one website to another. Then another thing, once kind of like, as I said, part of the audit is you want to download a copy of your websites, as plain as that. Like list there like a lot of tools. We use a lot of tools to do that where we just list all of the content. I'm going to show you an example. So this is one we did. We kind of like, this is a real example we use where we list all of the contents, kind of like a download of a website. So here, as you can say, like this is a WordPress website and we're doing it from WordPress to WordPress. So we just list all of the pages, like the page, when it was created, what is the URL for that page. This specific organization has multilingual component. So there's like English and Spanish. You want to see that. And then the part kind of like I'm going to cover it here, but it's going to be step 2 is what do you want to do? This is when you plan your migration. So you list all of the pages. What do we want to do with it? Do you want to update the content? Do you want to delete? There's like few options we have. Do you want to keep as a draft, merge or something else, whatever. Then if you're merging it, all of the other cool stuff. So you list for like step 1, you just list everything you have. So all of the pages, all of the posts, since once again, this is WordPress, you want to do all of your taxonomy. So that's like categories and tags and all of that jazz. Then if you have any custom post type, so for instance, this one, they have programs as a custom post type. Basically all of the pages on the website, you want to list them. Okay. And when I say if when we work on project like this, usually we do all of this work of like listing everything, download a copy, get a clear vision of what we have right now. I know it's scary, and for some organizations, we're talking about like tens of thousands of pages. It's a lot, right? But this is also a great exercise and opportunity for you to clean the content of your website. Not gonna lie, this is not the most fun part of working on a website redesign, and I know a lot of agencies try to avoid doing this, but it's essential. It's crucial for any big website with a lot of content, even for like small content, but it's very important step. Okay. And I know Catalina, she was like showing all of the fancy, nice like design stuff. I'm gonna show mostly spreadsheets because that's kind of like what this world is all about. So as I said, a lot of it is back end stuff. Okay. So that's kind of like number one is just exactly the current situation. Where are you at? What's going on? Then the second step is what we call a content strategy, which is what I'm gonna do with my contents. And to answer that question, there is no an easy answer to that. It's a process. And actually, one of the we're not going to cover this content strategy in details in this call, but I believe the next webinar we have, my colleague Seth, like he manages the content strategy and like how to use these tags instead of these categories, that kind of thing. So he will talk about that in more details, but I will talk about it from a content migration standpoint. And this is so, as I said, so I'm going to give some examples here. So you have the existing website, and then you downloaded all of the contents of your current website. You know exactly what's going on. But also you start like thinking, okay, now what we want is either for a lot of organizations is like we have a new, we need a new voice, we need a new look and new vibe. Our menu is too big. We want to reduce that kind of stuff. So one of the first thing, obviously with content strategy or content management is your sitemap, because that's kind of like the most important thing to structure your content. So that may be the only visually nice thing I'm going to show in my presentation is you develop a new sitemap. And this is like the base framework for all of the content moving forward, because everything should belong to that sitemap in a way or another. So I'm just like sharing like a very simple one we're working on right now, where kind of like they had, I don't know, like before they had like, I don't know how many menus they like the sitemap they have, but this is the new vision for the organization. And this is kind of like what they wanna, the menu we come up with collectively on the contents they want to have on the website, including some new language that they are implementing. So once kind of like this is one of the first step in the content strategy. And once again, like how we came up with this, that's a different discipline. Then the part of that you want to talk, I'm going to go back to that spreadsheet I shared with you earlier for like the categories, like the taxonomy. So for instance, I think I have two. I'm going to open this one. Yeah, maybe this one is better. So part of the categorization or like a new taxonomy you want to do is as simple as we list all of like the taxonomy you have at the moment, and then you see, so do you want to keep that? You want to delete it because it doesn't make any sense right now, or you want to remap it to something else if you come up with a new taxonomy that you want to do. So usually what we do, and this is usually related to a lot of content, so if it's resource library or some kind of like library that has a lot of content, usually it's tagged already. So let's say we have 300 posts with, I don't know, fact sheets, right? But this one we're gonna keep, let's say like, I don't know, this we want to delete, let's say presentations, for instance, we have like 200 presentations pieces. That's what it used to be called, but we want to call them webinars. Like moving forward, then we shouldn't, or you shouldn't go and like remap each one individually. We usually use this as a base, and then we run our scripts to remap everything. But this is very important for that content. So even after moving your contents from the old website to the new one, you want to remap so it matches your new taxonomy that you are working with. Okay. And then the third option, or like the third step, which is the final step, is actually that migration plan. Like how you're going to do it. Part of it is exactly what I was talking about, the taxonomy. Like you're going to map, like, are we going to merge the same taxonomy, the taxonomy we were talking about, like the categories, the custom post type, that kind of things. We're going to add, we're going to delete. Another feature or like request that we get from a lot of our clients is quote unquote archive contents. So I'm going to give an example. I'm just going to like explain it because archive could mean a lot of things to different people. So by archive, I mean, let's say the organization is 15 years old and we have some content that was built in, I don't know, 15 years ago. I'm a big fan of keeping all of the content on your website unless something is wrong with the content or irrelevant. Otherwise, you never know. We've seen a lot of instances where a lot of organic traffic came to the website because of an old article. So keep it as long as it's not wrong. But how to archive it, right? So for instance, for this organization, what we did, we added a ribbon based on some criteria for their content. It's called From the Archive. So when you go, and it's automatically will be listed. So they have like a large resources library, but automatically it will like go to the archives based on some criterias here. And to identify, because not all traffic come directly from like using this flow. Like users don't always come to your website, go to resources, click on archive and see this because this makes sense. But a lot of them come like from direct page to, for instance, this page. Either they will come directly to it or from Google search or something. So we added that archive ribbon here at the top to indicate this is an archive from the archive. For other organizations, there's another thing here we added. This is a good example too, that you want to tell people that, hey, this is like from several years ago. So if there is anything, information is not right or something needs to be updated, please reach out to us. You want to give them that because sometimes people come to your website, it's like, oh, this is from 2000, but it's wrong, blah, blah, blah. So, and sometimes you don't have the capacity to go over everything. It's just, if you have like 10,000 of pages, it's so hard and time consuming to edit and review every page on your website. So this is kind of like a workaround to do that. Yeah, and the rest, once you map the content, so you have the new, if you want to create, then I'm not going to talk about like adding new content, new pages, because that's kind of like makes sense. You don't need to migrate everything. But if you want to keep your pages, you keep them as is. If you want to edit, mostly the taxonomy, that's usually what a lot of organizations struggle with is, I have older taxonomy. There is this new, I want the website to be structured this way, but I can't like do it one by one. So kind of like have a structure, kind of like exactly what I shared, and just let the scripts do the magic, but also you want to like test and review. One thing with very crucial I need to mention here with any migration project for your website is SEO consideration. So one thing you don't want to do is, or if you do, you have to be very careful, is changing the URL structure of your website. So for instance, let's say you have, I don't know, let me open this one. So let's say you have, this is new. Let's say you have like, I don't know, .org, and you have resources, and then the name of that resource. So let's say this was what it was on the old website. Let's say for whatever reason you said, you know what, on the new website, we're not going to use resources. We're going to use like library. So you got to keep in mind that's the Google index, which is, the #1 search engine, it will still have the resources on their index. So people would still go, if it's listed on different websites or no matter what, it will be going to the resources, not the library. So if you do that, that's fine. Just be careful that you might, like, your SEO ranking presence will be hurt a little bit. So for that, you will need a solid redirect strategy. So keep in mind, like, if you change the URLs, you got to have a good redirect strategy for that. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with this service by Google called Google Search Console. That's where you usually go and check all of the Google index, like how your website is acting and stuff. So you want to check that on a regular basis after you do the migration, because if you see anything there or any red flags, you want to act immediately and see like how you can fix that. So yeah, I've seen it in the past where some migration plans did hurt the SEO for some organizations. So got to be careful with that. I think that's it for me for this. I know I tried to fit in like a lot of like stuff in few slides, but I hope that was not too dry.
Thanks, Wasim. Does anyone have any questions? You can put them in the Q&A or the chat. I'll just give everyone a minute or two.
Yeah, while waiting on the question, I don't know, Emily, you're like reviewing those questions. So one of the, it's not a question, but kind of like use case that I've seen a lot with content migration is I mentioned earlier in my presentation is the CMS, is the content management system. Sometimes it depends like which system you are using, if it's WordPress or something else. I would say pay a lot of extra attention when it's not the same system migration. So if it's like Drupal to WordPress, WordPress to Drupal, whatever system you are using, because that's usually a lot of things got lost in that process. I've seen it not once, but many times where attempted migration from, I mentioned earlier, nation builders to WordPress, it's not as easy as it sounds. And that one needs a little bit extra planning than if you do like WordPress to WordPress or Drupal to Drupal or something similar. So yeah, that's something I wanted to mention that I've seen like real life examples that a lot of organizations struggle with. The other thing I mentioned, and I believe it's as important is the SEO, especially if you have like large website, is the SEO stuff. You have to test your website after you launch the new one, using either like Google Search Console or other stuff to see if how your SEO presence is after the launching the website. So those two kind of like the two biggest red flag. The third one is not red flag, is more like a capacity, is a lot of work here. It will require your team to dedicate some time to it. So when working on a website redesign, you have to factor that your team needs some time to review the content, because there are limits that we can do or any agency could do, right? Because we can have all of the content, we can pull all of the taxonomy and stuff. but what to keep and what not to keep, that will be up to the organization because no one knows your content more than you do. So that's something to factor when thinking about a website redesign project, that you will need your team and capacity. Just think about capacity too. Yeah, those just like three things I want to mention very quick.
Thanks. Well,
okay.
So I have one question that I prepared myself. Something, that I think a lot of organizations run into is that they either don't have a branding guide or they need some help with their branding. They want kind of a refresh. So I guess as a small organization or a small nonprofit organization without branding guidelines, how should someone prepare for that? And how can IndieTech Solutions support that?
Sure. I can take that one. So, it's really nothing to worry about. As long as you have at least a logo or at least an idea of what you want your organization to say, that's completely fine. We can totally help you. We work with a lot of organizations that maybe only had just the logo as their whole branding. They didn't really have like a style guide or anything, but we can build around that. We can take a look at any other branding materials that they have. Like, for example, maybe they do social media. We can grab stuff from there, or maybe they publish some reports that we can, I don't know, just grab ideas from there. And yeah, we can build around that to really yeah, just give you a website or a resource library or solution that your organization needs um, that's aligned with the branding, no matter how little branding you may have.
Thanks, Catalina. All right. Well, it sounds like we don't have any other questions. Well, let's wrap up the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope this information was helpful. Please join us on Tuesday, July 9th at 1 p.m. for part 3 of our series, What to Consider Before Your Next Website Redesign. We're going to cover content strategy and the technical aspects like web security, hosting, domain management, analytics, and more. I'm going to share the RSVP for that and the recording and email this week. Lastly, we're here to help and provide web support for nonprofit organizations you care about or your clients in the nonprofit space. If you'd like to get into contact with us, we would love to explore your next website redesign and how we can help with that. Please don't hesitate to reach out and schedule a time to talk with us. Thanks again for joining us and have a great day. And feel free, if you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to follow up. Thanks, everyone.